and welcome to the Don J MMA podcast. I'm here with Don Dada. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Sick card last night. I thought it was going to be shit, but big upsets.
The worst looking cards are always the best.
Yeah. So we're just going to go over our review on UFC 293 quickly. I'm just going to go over the prelims. Shane Young, unfortunately, your time is up in the UFC. Another loss. On his way out of the UFC, though, he should hold the door open for his teammate, uh, Blood Diamond. That guy also needs to get rid as well. He's terrible. Carlos Ulberg had a good performance. That Hack Pross fight was insane. Other than that, there wasn't really much to say about the prelims. On to the main card. Ben, what do you think of the main card?
So Lewis once again is put on massive fraud check because right, guys, we all know when I make a prediction, you know it's right. I predicted first. Forget the main event. We don't talk about the main event. I literally got two fights wrong the whole card. But one fight I got right that we won't let slide on Lewis's part is Austin Lane and Justin Taffer.
Yeah, no, you were hesitant on that because we were debating that a bit when we were making our calls. I mean, I was just basing it off what I seen in their first no contest, and he looked a lot better then. He
Yeah.
just got caught. He was flat. I mean, it just goes to show you, like normally I thought he would be more athletic, he'd be able to move a bit better, be a lot faster, but
Yeah.
the guy doesn't have a chin and a striking defense isn't there. So, I mean,
Yeah.
foolish of me to pick a guy who got beat by Greg Hardy. I'll hold my hands up.
Yeah, so when he lost to Justin Taffer, it went exactly how I thought. Like, Austin Lane can win the good majority of that fight, but his defense to me it screamed that he was going to get knocked out.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't great. Yeah, there's not much to say on that fight. I mean, a lot of people did predict Tafa to win. I didn't, but it kind of went how everybody who picked him to win said it was going to. Then we had Manel Cap and oh my God, I've just went blank. The newcomer, Buck.
Dos Santos.
Yes, Charles Oliveira's teammate.
Yeah.
Um, this guy DeSantos, I know he was meant to be on the contender series and his fight fell through and then he got put into this. Don't put this guy in the contender series. Sign him up
Yeah.
for a short notice. That guy is really talented on the feet. So tough as well.
Yeah.
Manel Cap, that was a really good performance. The way he was able to move so fluently into each stance and the shots that he was landing,
His
really
defense
impressive.
just keeps getting better.
Yeah. A bit inactive at times, I think. Sometimes he can be a bit hesitant to throw, it looks like. But when he
Mm.
does throw, like the guy hits hard. His movement's insane. See, moving back, switching those stances and landing the counters, that is really impressive.
Dos Santos reminds me of Kevin Holland, not in the same way they fight anywhere near the same way, but it's just seizing the opportunity. In my opinion, he shouldn't lose any stock from that performance because, yes, all right, Cap got the better, but Dos Santos absolutely deserves to be signed with the UFC. He took a big risk, but he got in there and proved that he belonged in there with one of the best flyweights in the world.
Yeah, I definitely think don't put this guy in the contender series. Give him a contract. Uh,
Absolutely. I bet they put him on the
for,
contenders. I bet you.
yeah, they probably will. But I mean, at least then he'll get a win because he'll dominate
Yeah.
whoever he fights in the contender series. Just briefly, what did we think about Manel Cam, what he said in the post-fight speech?
Um, I believe it was a homophobic slur. I've not actually managed
Yeah,
to watch it yet. Listen, guys, heat of the moment. We've all said very stupid things in the heat of the moment. I can tell
yeah,
you that without getting cancelled, I have said stupid things in the heat of the moment. He apologised after. Should leave it at that, really.
yeah. I mean, it's just like this guy. He speaks. I think he speaks three different languages. So I'm not defending him, but at any or
Yeah.
by any means. But maybe English isn't his first language. So I mean, maybe he didn't really understand the severity of what he actually said. And again, it's a word. Like if you're that offended by that, grow up and get over it. It's a word. Like it surely it doesn't damage you that much. Like, come on.
Yeah. Listen, the main event. I
We
mean,
need to
this
go.
is what I've been
We need to go
dying to
co-main.
talk about this. I'm gonna listen. This main event, it was beautiful.
Do you
It
want to
was
do the
beautiful.
co-main before quickly?
Holy crap! Yeah, Taito Ivasa and Alexander
Yeah, there's a lot
Volkov.
to say on the main event, but we'll just brush over the main card.
Completely forgot. Sorry.
Tai Tuivasa. What actually is next for this guy? Three back-to-back losses, all by
I'm
way of
back.
finish. Yeah. What I didn't like, and I noticed it in this fight, was it seemed to me that he kept like ducking his like looking at the floor when he was like going in, like going forward. He kept like ducking and then throwing. His leg kicks were good. Uh Volkov blocked a lot of those leg kicks. He checked a lot of them. He dominated Tai Tuivasa. The commentary would make you believe a bit different, that it was a bit of a war. It was one-sided, and Volkov was really impressive. The combinations he was landing, really, really impressive performance. But it makes me wonder, how good is Tom Aspinall considering he put him away in a round?
It needs to be said. I think we're tied to Ivasa. Tied to Ivasa is somebody that's aware that he can be finished. And I think he's also somebody that's aware now. I feel like a lot of fighters like Ty, it takes until they get finished, like Tony Ferguson, or they take a bad beating, where they kind of become a bit more hesitant, or they kind of become a bit sloppier. I just think Ty to Ivasa, honestly, people won't agree with this at all. I think he needs to retire.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Ignore the voice break. That's not a bad shout. I just don't know where he goes from here. I mean, the only other fight that I would say, if he is going to stay around, because I'm pretty sure he's only in his 30s. Let me just double check here quickly. Yeah, he is 30, so
Hmm.
maybe give him the Derek Lewis rematch. I don't know.
A bit of a war, yeah. Just get him in a few good fights. A war, just something fun. I think tied to Ivasa, maybe if he left and went in bare knuckle, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him knocking people out in bare knuckle.
Yeah, or maybe the
But
PFL pick him up for Ngannou.
or even yeah, I just think the UFC, the top heavyweights. I don't think Ty cares about being the world champion or anything like that. I don't think that's ever
No.
been his goal. But at the end of the day, he's getting uh, sandbagged every fight. So I'd like to see Tai Tuivasa stop before he gets too much damage, if he
Yeah.
hasn't already.
Now let's get on to the main event. There's a lot to say about this main event. Sean Strickland dominated Israel Adesanya. What did you think of it?
Man, honestly, I have to say, I said Sean Strickland has a style where he could do all the wrong things but make them right. But I did also say his style benefits Israel Adesanya. I was wrong. In hindsight, every time we see these kind of fights, it seems obvious. It's different with Alex Pereira, where Alex Pereira matched Sean Strickland in the center of the octagon and traded with him, and he has too much power for Sean
Yeah.
Strickland's style. But with Israel Adesanya, it's jab, leg kick, jab, right hand. One shot at a time. You can't do it against Sean Strickland. Sean was just parrying. You see, he was blocking question mark kicks with his hand.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like Sean Strickland's parries are maybe even some of the best in the world, and I'm not even joking.
Yeah, it was really impressive. The fact I couldn't believe he dropped Adesanya, and this is the thing, I was actually speaking about this earlier. Adesanya does this where he throws a left hook, and it worked really well in his first fight against Robert Whittaker because it was in the sequence that finished him. But I
Yeah,
don't know if you noticed it, but when he leans back and throws like a left hook from his waist, and he
yeah.
tried to do that in the first round, and this is what got him caught. And then Sean Strickland just went right up the middle with a right hand and dropped him. He like drops his hands, lean back, and then like throws this. It's not like a check hook because he doesn't like move off it. He just
Yeah.
stays there, and he
I
got
think
caught.
it's great against Robert. The thing with Robert Whittaker is Robert Whittaker massively overextends himself so much more than Sean Strickland does. So when all Sean did was a little feint, and then Israel literally tried to lunge into a left hook from his waist,
Yeah,
and you can see him. He turns his head away, so he's actually not looking at the opponent while he's doing it. Because what I think he thought Sean was going to do is come with a right hook, so he can roll with the right hook and come over behind the ear with a left. But Sean little feint, straight right hand down the middle. And also something I'd like to say is I always believed Sean maybe had more power than he uses. And I think when he actually sits down on his shots more, he has a lot more power.
Yeah, I honestly, I thought he was similar to Colby and where he had pillows for hands, but I think it was just how accurate. Like he hit Izzy on the button with that, and fair play to Mark Goddard for not stepping in because Izzy took a lot of shots when he went down and on his way
Yeah.
up, he took a lot of shots. So big respect to him for not stepping in. How did you score this fight? Because I had it 4 rounds to 1, Strickland.
I think I had it the same,
I
or
think
maybe
I give
maybe even every single round to Sean.
I think I give this second to Adesanya. Now I haven't rewatched it, but I think at first watch I give Adesanya round 2, and then Sean obviously the rest.
It's for me again. I mean, I'm going to upload a breakdown on it tomorrow, but it's I just really didn't realize how much Izzy's style benefits Sean. And there's something else I'm going to address in a second is the Izzy fans. I mean, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of every single fighter that loses that's high level, the past it. Oh, he wasn't at his best. No. If you know what you're watching, which a lot of people apparently don't, Israel Adesanya looked bad because he didn't know how to get past the parries, because he wasn't throwing combinations, but also because in the fifth round, when he's way behind and he knew he was way behind, he was running. He was actually
Yeah,
running away and backing right away from Sean as if to say, I quit. It almost was like that. And yes, that kind of is unlike Israel Adesanya, because in the Kelvin Gastelum fight, where he's potentially behind, potentially not, he really stepped on it and looked for the finish. But I just think Izzy's got comfortable with fighters not taking him to that place where he really has to dig deep for a while. I know Alex Pereira stopped him. I'm still here.
yeah, still here.
Yeah, sorry, man. I know Alex Pereira stopped him and gave him a good second fight, but apart from that, most of his defences have been very safe, and I think he thought that he could kind of point fight with Sean.
Yeah, I think that was a trap that a lot of people fell into when fighting Adesanya was because he is a big star in the UFC, so his events are big. There is a lot of people watching Israel Adesanya. So to me, I think people get caught up in this whole like his whole personality, the whole thing around Adesanya being such a big star. And I honestly don't think he took Sean Strickland serious because in that matchup, there was a lot of like, he was on the back foot the entire time, never once tried to be the one putting Strickland on the back foot. It was always singular shots. He wasn't trying to put anything together. One thing I want to say, sorry, see the commentary for Adesanya's fights. They need to I don't know, just tell people to mute their TV. They need to stop just glazing this guy every time he fights. Like, uh, is he look at the reads he's making? He's not making any reads. It's been like we're in the fourth round. He's been backed up every single round. He hasn't done anything. And they're like, oh, but look at the reads he's making. He's not making any. The guy's just
I
being
think
backed up.
it's Izzy's got really, really good. Right, here's the thing. This happened in the Jan Blachowicz fight. Izzy's got really, really good feints. Really good feints. But have you got good feints? But are you doing anything with them? If you're not, like if Izzy's setting up low kicks so he can come right over the top of a question mark kick on Sean Strickland, okay, but did he do it? He might be trying to set it up. Did he do it though? Because feints, I'd like to remind everyone, don't count as strikes. If
Yeah.
your opponent's reacting to feints, but you're not doing anything with them, it doesn't matter. You don't lose a round by going and reacting to feints. You don't lose a round by doing that. You lose a round when you're taking punishment. And the commentary need to realise the person who was taking punishment and getting the holy shit beat out of him was Israel Adesanya. And this happened for arguably every single round except maybe one. But the other four were absolutely undeniable.
Yeah, and it was like the whole fight. There was like, oh, is he's making these reads? He's using these feints, but like you said, he's not doing anything with them. Like,
exactly.
it was as if his whole game plan to me in there was to go into Sean Strickland, jab and leg kick. That was it. There was nothing. Okay, a jab, leg kick. Right. So now we've realised that Strickland is really light on his lead leg tonight. Throwing tapes and bringing his leg up. There was never any adjustment in the corner that his corner went, right, we're gonna have to mix this up here, and maybe you start throwing tapes to the body and get this guy off you. There was nothing to be like, for me anyway. I didn't see Izzy be like, right, he keeps forward pressuring me. There's no tapes, nothing to try and back him up. It was just, I'm going to keep moving and like switching between stances and throwing one
Yeah.
leg kick and then get backed up against the cage.
And every time, the counter, I really like the counter with Shaw where he parries into a teep. Like he parries into a lead push kick, keep Israel Adesanya moving backwards. I mean, Sean Strickland, his defense it looks the same, but honestly, people, his head movement and his timing in his parries and his accuracy, which I think why you mentioned before, he might not have the most power, but he's certainly more accurate, especially than he used to be. I don't think it's a coincidence. Israel Adesanya is not an easy person to hurt either. So I think Sean Strickland's improving, and he, as the champion, he doesn't care about the belt. So I don't think that kind of pressure will be on him. I think he'll just keep getting better.
Yeah, and I think as well, is he like, this is the thing I noticed with his corner as well, was like he would go back to the corner and there wasn't like much advice that was being given to him.
Mm.
He would go back and stand, or like the guy Eric Nixon, I think, is Strickland's head coach.
Yeah,
That guy made Ngannou champion, Strickland now champion. Manel Kape had a really good performance on this card. There's a lot more other fighters, but I've kind of gone blank. But he was over there encouraging Sean Strickland, being like, you're not going to lose a boring decision. Put it on him, stick it on him.
yeah. He knew
Especially when he
exactly what
said,
to push.
yeah, he was like, at the last 90 seconds, I'm going to tell you it's 90 seconds left and grapple him. Now, granted, Strickland didn't do that, but he's encouraging, he's telling him, do this, where it was like nothing was really said in Adesanya's corner. And I don't know, like, I don't know why that was.
I think with Sean Strickland's coach again, massive credit because listen, the coaching he gave showed to me he knew exactly whether he believes, oh, we don't want to know pussy boring decision or whatever he called it. I think he actually said we don't want any pussy point fighting or something
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
something like we
He knew
didn't come all this
exactly.
far to lose a fucking decision or something.
Exactly. He went. He knew exactly how to keep Sean on point, and Sean was there getting revved up like, okay, right, okay. I think he's one of those coaches that really understands each of his fighters and knows exactly how to get the best out of them. And I think he definitely deserves a lot more credit. He's definitely one of the more underrated coaches for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing that I noticed, now I could be wrong on this, but it seemed to me as if Strickland and his corner, they really had a game plan in place for Adesanya. Like they really worked on certain things. Sean Strickland looked a lot lighter on his lead leg that I noticed. Um, the constant forward pressure, like, see, to do that, that's draining. To
Yeah.
constantly be in someone's face like that. And it looked like Adesanya's corner, they didn't have a game plan for Strickland. They didn't have anything really to go into it.
Yeah.
It looked like to me.
My I'll tell you what, I have a question to ask you. Who do you think will win the rematch if they fight?
Adesanya will win the rematch, definitely.
I think the same. I think the reason why is he wins the rematch is because he's a great rematcher, in my opinion, as shown against Alex Pereira. I definitely think he'll come with a bit more aggression. I think he'll hold the centre of the octagon a lot more. But with Israel Adesanya, even in the second Alex Pereira in MMA fight, he never, he doesn't go with combinations. He really doesn't, or at least not many. I just think, like, how good was Sean's? Like, it's very hard to check his leg kicks, and he
Yeah.
barely missed a beat with them. He was even checking him with his back leg. He was literally timing it so well. He was bringing it and checking it right on the shin. And then the parry, he just defensively, it's really hard. A lot of people don't understand how hard it is to defend on the front foot like that, or move your head on the front foot like that. Even like his shoulder rolling punches,
Yeah.
shoulder rolling in 4 ounce gloves is so much harder to do than in 10 ounce. He's just a very, very, very good defensive fighter. And I think if Sean was to bring wrestling more into his game, which I don't think he will, because I just don't think he believes in it or he's not that kind of fighter. But if he was to really have a good wrestling base, I think he wouldn't be unstoppable, but he'd be certainly hard to beat.
And I think we found another thing in Adesanya's game where the close range that Sean Strickland put on Adesanya, and a lot of people were complaining about this in the commentary, and I thought at the start that's risky, but the more I watched the fight and the more Adesanya wasn't really doing anything to this, when Strickland would literally just stick his hands out and grab his hands, he just kept grabbing his hands, and Izzy didn't try and do anything about that. It was like Strickland would get in close, parry, and then he would just start like reaching for his hands. And normally, like that's a big no-no. But Adesanya never done anything. And like I don't know if you've ever trained in MMA yourself, but I've done a few spars and things like that in MMA and trained it for a while. But see when someone's just grabbing your hands constantly like that when you're trying to strike them, it's so annoying and it throws you off completely. Someone's just grabbing at your wrists and your hands. It
Yeah.
like it just throws you off anything that you'd planned. And another
Daniel
thing with
Cormier.
Adesanya, yeah, Cormier done it really well. McGregor done it really well in the Eddie Alvarez fight where he just kept grabbing his lead hand, and then
Yeah.
Eddie had no choice but to throw his backhand, and then that's where the counters came. Another thing about Adesanya is they kept bringing this up in the commentary. Oh, he's playing possum against the cage, or he's like doing that rope-a-dope style. But
No.
Strickland never engaged with him. Where Alex Pereira and Adesanya was hurt in that second fight when Pereira put the pressure on him. But Strickland just, when he went back and just came in with that high guard and wanted Strickland to come forward, Strickland just stayed where he was and just picked his shots instead of rushing in, which is what Adesanya wanted.
The difference between Strickland and Pereira, if that's what Adesanya did, you know, there's difference between the two. I don't know how you can make that kind of mistake in terms of your game plan because I believe Alex Pereira would do the same mistake again. I
Yeah,
actually really do. Because Alex Pereira is just a pure finisher. When he smells a finish, he goes for it. Sean Strickland, I honestly believe whatever you think of him as a person, if he smells a finish, he enjoys taking his time or he enjoys picking you apart. Um, I just even at the end, like when he was screaming at Izzy when Izzy was running away, he outmanned Izzy, literally outmanned him. I know
yeah,
like the no man who beats off to cartoons can beat me, but he actually did outman him.
yeah. And I think that was maybe a part of Strickland's game plan because we did see Adesanya. He was against the cage because Strickland was pressuring him so much. But like Strickland never had him against the cage and went, right, fuck this, I'm just gonna dive in and start throwing everything at him when he
Yeah,
very easily could have because Adesanya wasn't doing much back. He just stayed patient, and that's where that right hand came from. That dropped Adesanya. It was
yeah.
honestly, it's is it a bigger upset than Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey? Because they were in the same
Um,
place.
I wouldn't say it is because I feel like a lot of people did pick Sean, whether they were picking him for valid reasons or not. I definitely saw a lot of people picking him. Whereas with Holly Holm, I think like the hype of Ronda being able to beat Floyd in boxing, stuff like that, you'll never see anything like that again. Never see anything like that again.
Yeah, it was just hats off to Strickland. Like that wasn't like I really did not see that coming. I thought this was going to be an Adesanya masterclass. Instead, we
Absolutely.
got a Sean Strickland masterclass. What I want to ask you now, though, is we've seen Dana White talk about it in the post-fight press conference. Does Adesanya deserve an immediate rematch?
No, I don't think he does because I don't know about you, but the reason why I say no, not because is not one of the greatest middleweights of all time. He absolutely is. He's a fantastic fighter, but he just lost the belt, regains the belt, but he didn't defend it this time, and he lost in dominant fashion. I'd like to see Izzy fight as a contender again. I'd like to see him fight Robert Whittaker in a third fight. We'll see if Robert Whittaker has anything left about him. I don't think he does. I think Izzy would stop him in the first round this time. I've predicted Robert Whittaker's on a decline because I just don't think Robert is best would have lost to Dricus du Plessis. But Dricus and Sean's the fight to make.
Yeah, see, I would agree with that, right? But this was, I was thinking about this earlier when knowing we were going to make this podcast and ask this question. I see why Dana White wants to give Adesanya the immediate title rematch because one, he behind McGregor, he is the biggest star in the UFC. Like, love him or hate him, that's just fact, really.
Yeah.
Number two, the UFC is a business at the end of the day, and I think a lot of people forget that when they're talking about these fights. Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis isn't the biggest fight to make at middleweight. The biggest fight and the one that makes the most amount of money is Dricus versus Adesanya. So what I think will happen is the UFC will go to Dricus and say, take time off and heal up properly. Adesanya is often active, and he didn't take that much damage in that fight that he has to be off for a long time. So they probably went, you have definitely got this title shot after this rematch, sit out, and they'll go, right, we're booking this early on in the new year because the UFC know Sean versus Dricus isn't a bigger fight than Dricus versus Izzy. And like I said, it's a business. So they need to try and figure out what is going to make them the most revenue. Now, if Adesanya came out and said, I'm going to take time off with my family, blah, 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 with his dog, pause. And then the UFC went, we're going to have Strickland versus Dricus because Adesanya doesn't want the immediate title rematch, then fair enough. And if they were to make Strickland versus Dricus, who wins?
I honestly think Strickland would drown Dricus, but at the same time, I think Dricus, sorry guys.
Yeah, I have no idea how to say his name.
Dricus, at the end of the day, I think he has a wrestling threat on Sean, just because he makes himself open for takedowns. I'm not saying he has bad grappling or bad takedown defense, but he's definitely open for them, right? And Dricus is very strong. We've seen it. He's so athletic. I think Sean will be fine though. And the way Dricus gasses, Sean did that. I can't remember who he fought before, is it? That one everyone was hyping up.
Magomedov, something. I think his second name was Magomedov.
I mean, Sean's pressure is relenting, and Dricus with his singular left over, like his left-handed, he front wings out like Derek Brunson. Each time he misses, the more pressure Sean applies. Each time Sean stuffs his takedown, I just think Dricus is going to gas out more and more, and Sean will finish him in the late rounds.
I'm going to go for Dricus to win that matchup. A big thing for it is you're 100% right about the cardio. If Dricus doesn't either work on his cardio, which don't get me wrong, I'm sure the guy is, he's maybe just genetically like that, like McGregor.
Disclaimer, sorry. A quick disclaimer. Dricus did have health issues that apparently affected his cardio, so apparently it might be better now. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing something.
Oh, yeah, it was the nose surgery I think he got. But on to that fight, different from Adesanya, Dricus isn't going to back away. He will go head on with Strickland. And you normally see that when Strickland is forced to be on the back foot, similar to Adesanya, that's not really what he's best suited for. He's best suited for being the guy applying the pressure. And I just think Dricus will just put the pressure on him, meet him in the middle. And I mean, his cardio is a big issue. I think his wrestling, his grappling would be a bit of an issue, but that power, because Strickland can be hit, we've seen it. Strickland
and he can be knocked out.
Yeah, his guard worked well against Izzy, didn't work well against Alex Pereira, and Dricus is a power puncher. The guy's got the weirdest style ever, but he is a power puncher. Regardless of Whitaker's chin, to be able to do that to Robert Whitaker with a jab, I think people forget a jab. This guy has extreme power, and that is why I would pick him to beat Sean Strickland.
Yeah, so, I mean, the wrestling's absolutely a valid point. My thing, it's just, his combinations are terrible. I mean, we saw it against Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
Rob still won that. I think, did you give him the first round?
No, I give it to Dricus.
I can't remember the fight. But I remember thinking Dreykus has terrible combinations. They're actually awful. He has a powerful left hand and he has a powerful jab, as you mentioned. But again, he throws a lot of singular shots. Like he'll dart in with that left hand. I just see Sean every time punishing him for it. And then the takedowns, as long as Sean can get past that first round, even if he does get taken down, I think really he's going to be fine. Like the Alex Pereira knockout with Sean, Alex Pereira like feinted a left hook to the body. Sean drops his right hand, and then Dreykus, and then Alex Pereira comes right through with a left hook. I just don't see Dreykus landing that big shot.
I just think we've seen it when Jared Cannonier fought Sean Strickland. Now that was a close fight, but Cannonier had the power advantage over Strickland, and we've seen that was kind of what helped him win that fight. Was that when they would exchange, Cannonier would land, and it would affect Sean Strickland more than Strickland would affect Cannonier. Now Drickus is really durable as well, so I don't think the power that Strickland has is going to be an issue for Dricus, to be honest. I think the power that Dricus or Drickus, whatever you say, will be an issue for Sean Strickland. And on to the point of if he gets Strickland down, like I've said so many times, Dricus is really good at controlling his opponents on the ground. And, it will be hard for Sean Strickland to get up from underneath someone like Dricus because really he is just like a wet blanket. It's not as if like he's really fast moving positions. He just lays on you and makes you do all the work and expose certain parts for him to be able to capitalize on, whether that's with ground and pound, whether that's with submissions. So I think Dricus has, on paper, you look at him, you watch his stuff, his fight style is weird, and you all probably wouldn't pick him to beat most people. But I actually think he would beat most people at middleweight just because of how weird and difficult the style is, and his durability and his power.
Moving on, I think we're going to have to finish up soon, but I think the matchup that I think, or the fighter that I think now, for me in the future, would definitely be champion is Khamzat Chimaev. A lot of people call him overrated. Yes, I think he is to an extent, but also, is he backing up like that? Is he fighting safe? Alex Pereira being at 205. Dricus du Plessis not being a better wrestler and grappler, although I think his strength gives Khamzat a lot of problems. Sean Strickland being, like, I could just imagine Khamzat and Sean Strickland being really built up. Sean comes out looking to get heavy pressure, and Khamzat just immediately takes him down, immediately, and then submits him immediately. Like, Khamzat Chimaev, or even, I don't want to say Bo Nickel yet, but Bo Nickel has the wrestling. We all know that, to give any middleweight problems. I just think Khamzat is that man to bring that elite level wrestling and grappling into that division and cement his status as champion.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if Khamzat is going to move back down to welterweight. I'm assuming not. I think this move to middleweight, which I agree with. This is where he's best suited. My only thing with the Adesanya and Khamzat fight is Khamzat will be able to take Adesanya down. There's no question on that. The gas tank of Khamzat is what would worry me after maybe the 2.5 rounds in. Now I know that was with a big weight cut at welterweight. We haven't seen what his gas tank is like at middleweight. Hopefully we can get a look at that against Paulo Costa. I don't think that will be the case. I think Khamzat will beat Paulo Costa pretty comfortably. But that would be something that I would consider in that matchup, would be Khamzat's cardio.
I think when Khamzat beats Paulo, if he does, I mean, I don't want to underestimate Paulo. It's not that Paulo has nothing for Khamzat, but you look at how half-hearted Paulo is these days in his fights compared to Khamzat, who's just a beast. He's going to get in there and really look to destroy Paulo. Like, people don't realise that even just the mental difference that those two are on at the moment, I think will show. Now, if Khamzat destroys Paulo Costa as well, Paulo being so big, if Khamzat mauled Paulo Costa, which I don't think he will, but if he mauled him, I think a lot of people would then realise, like everyone would realise, Hamzat's the guy. You know what I'm trying to say? But it all depends on how he looks against Paul Law. But most importantly for me, how strong he looks against Paul Law.
Yeah, I think Hamzat will be champion at middleweight when it's all said and done. When Adesanya gets his rematch, maybe by the end of 2025, I think Hamzat will be champion. But that will do us for today. Our review on UFC 293. We should be back tomorrow, all being well. Different type of podcast tomorrow. I was thinking when we do a tier list on overrated, underrated fighters, give our
Sounds good.
opinions, spend time on it. And this week we will be breaking down the fight night Grasso Shevchenko 2. Leave your questions in the comments below on either the YouTube video or Ben's TikTok. Currently, I'm still banned. So, Ben or YouTube, get your questions in and we will get them answered in the next podcast. I actually appreciate the support we've got on this. We're gaining a pretty good following, likes and comments and things like that. So, yeah, it's really appreciated. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Thank you all very much. See you later, Lewis. Thank you.
Yeah, see you later, mate.